Everyone, I'm Dr. Kalpana. In this lecture, we would be discussing about law of wages, which is very important topic of labor law. We would be trying to give it a comprehensive overview. So, welcome to this presentation on the law of wages in India. We would be exploring the statutory definitions, key concepts, and case laws that shape the framework of wage administration. Our discussion will cover foundational aspects of what constitute wages, fixation of minimum wages, and regulations governing their payment, culminating in an understanding of transformative code wages 2019. Now coming to definition of wages, statutory and judicial interpretation. Statutory definition is provided under Section 2H of Minimum Wages Act 1948. Wages encompasses all remuneration expressible in money payable upon fulfillment of an employment contract terms. This includes basic pay, dearness allowance, retaining allowance. However, it specifically excludes bonuses, housing value, employers' provident fund contribution, conveyance, HRA, overtime, gratuity, commissions as detailed in Section 2Y of Code on Wages 2020, 2019. Wider definition and exclusions. Employers State Insurance ESI Act Section 2 Subclause 22 provides a broader scope for social security purposes. Industrial Dispute Act 1947 Section 2 RR defines wages in the context of industrial dispute. Code on Wages 2019 Section 2Y offers a consolidated definition, streamlining previous ambiguities. So, Code on Wages unifies these definitions, aiming for clarity and uniformity across various labor laws. Judicial pronouncement on wage definition. Magnus Ore India Limited versus Chandi Lal Saha. That case comes from 1991. Supreme Court ruled that wages must include remuneration paid regularly for work performed. It explicitly stated that discretionary payments or prerequisites which are not part of the consistent compensation for work should not be included in the definition of wages. This ruling clarifies the distinction between regular earnings and incidental benefits. Practical implications, for example, a factory worker's monthly pay and dearness allowance are considered wages under Code on Wages 2019 as per Section 2Y. However, any uniform allowance or transport allowance would typically be excluded from this definition, aligning with the principles established in case law regarding what constitute remuneration for work. Minimum wages, concepts, and fixation. Key concepts. The concept of minimum wage denotes the lowest legally permissible remuneration. Fair wage, slightly above minimum, considers industry capacity. Living wage is ideal, ensuring decent standard of living, covering basic needs, education, and social amenities. Fixation mechanisms. Under Section 5 of Code on Wages 2019, formerly Minimum Wages Act 1948, the government has authority to fix or revise minimum wages. The fixation is dynamic, varying based on scheduled employment, regional differences, occupation types, and skill levels, ensuring tailored application. Now coming to the components of minimum wages. Minimum wages typically comprise a basic wage, a variable dearness allowance, which adjust for inflation. In some cases, a house rent allowance may be integrated, providing a more comprehensive remuneration package to workers. Landmark cases on minimum wages, Unichoi versus State of Kerala. That case comes from 1962. Supreme Court affirmed the constitutional validity of Minimum Wages Act. It held that Act does not violate fundamental right to freedom of trade guaranteed under Section 19(1)(g) of Indian Constitution, emphasizing its role in preventing exploitation of labor. Workmen represented by Secretary versus Management of Reptacos Bread Company Limited. This significant ruling by Supreme Court underscored the importance of considering the living wage concept. When fixing minimum wages, the court advocated for a progressive approach where minimum wages should strive towards providing a dignified standard of living for workers, moving beyond mere subsistence. Now coming to payment of wages regulation and deductions. Objective of Payment of Wages Act. The primary goals are to ensure wages are paid promptly without unauthorized deductions. This act now uh, subsumed under Code of on Wages 2019 applies to employees whose wages fall below a specified ceiling, safeguarding their financial interest. Timely and mode of payment. Wages must be paid the 7th of next month for establishment with fewer than 1,000 employees, by 10th of those with 1,000 or more. Payments can be made in cash, by check, or through digital bank transfers as per Section 17 of the Code on Wages 2019. Authorized deductions. Permissible deduction include fines under specific rules, absence from duty, recovery of advances, loans, contribution to provident fund, ESI taxes, insurance, and compensation for damage lost due to negligence. These are regulated by Section 19 to 21 of the Code on Wages 2019, with maximum deduction up to 50% of the wages. Now coming to unlawful deduction. Any deduction made without proper legal basis or express consent of the worker is deemed unlawful. This provision protects employees from arbitrary financial penalties, reinforcing the integrity of wage payments. Code on Wages 2019, a paradigm shift. Unification. The Code on Wages integrates four major labor laws: Payment of Wages Act 1936, Minimum Wages Act 1948, Payment of Bonus Act 1965, Equal Remuneration Act 1976. This unification aims to simplify and streamline complex landscape of wages legislation in India. Now coming to the rationalization behind bringing this code rationalizes various aspects of wage administration, including the definition of wages, minimum wage fixation and payment regulation. It introduces a universal definition of wages applicable across all sectors, reducing discrepancies and promoting consistency. Uniformity. A key objective of the code is to ensure uniformity in wage laws across both organized and unorganized sector. This helps to extend essential labor protections such as minimum wages and timely payment to larger segment of workforce, fostering greater equality. Now, I would conclude this lecture and would be locating on key takeaways. Protection of labor force. The comprehensive framework for wage laws, particularly with advent of Code on Wages 2019, is designed to shield the workforce from exploitation by guaranteeing fair, timely, and adequate compensation for their labor. Harmonization of wage laws. India's move towards the Code on Wages 2019 signify a strategic shift to rationalize and harmonize fragmented wage laws. This unification ensures a consistent and equitable approach to wage management across diverse employment sectors. Future implications: this new code promises enhanced compliance, reduced litigation, improved ease of doing business, creating a more structured and transparent wage ecosystem for both employers and employees. It makes a significant step towards modernizing India's labor jurisprudence. With this, I would end here. Happy learning.